are getting hit constantly with people trying to steal wire instructions, and now the new thing is they're altering payoff statements to the mortgage company. So it's become a massive problem. And we're going to look at a couple of case studies. We're going to talk about what the different cyber fraud methods that the hackers use in our industry. So you have a copy of the PowerPoint presentation downloaded. What is cyber fraud? It's when credit and financial information is stolen online by a hacker and used in a criminal manner. So they intercept an email, they send fraudulent wiring instructions, buyer sends their money to what they think is the title company, but it goes right into the hacker's account. That's what we're talking about with this. And it's one of the fastest growing areas of crime in the United States. I have some statistics to show. So we've got attacks by industry. Real estate is second with the most attacks for cyber fraud, and that's all the wire fraud that's being hit by us. Biotechnology is obviously number one because of identity theft and things like that. And it keeps growing and growing. Real estate victims, as you can see, back in 2015, not so much, and then we just started having spikes, and it keeps going up and up. We combat it as much as we possibly can. We constantly get firewalls and all of these crazy things. I work for Fidelity. Fidelity National is the largest underwriter in the country, in the world probably, and we are probably hit maybe 1,500 times a day with someone trying to breach our firewalls to get
1,500 times a day?
Yeah.
I just literally had a heart attack.
Yeah, and so that's, we have a massive IT department. That's all they do, is sit there and try to stop the craziness. And they even still get in. I mean, think about, they got into Equifax. They got into, they get into Target, Home Depot, all of these huge places. They just got into somebody else recently too. So just some statistics. Americans lost $360 million in 2016, $675 in 2017, and over $1 billion in 2018. So we don't have the numbers yet for 2019, but it's basically almost doubled every year, the amount of money that we lose. They expect that it will hit $6 trillion in damages by 2021. We have spending to exceed $1 trillion by 2021. Currently, like Chase, Citibank, B of A, all of them collectively spend about $5 billion a year just on cybersecurity. So lots of money is going into this to protect the consumers from attacks. Human attack surface, that means individuals would be hacked into. We have estimated 6 billion people by 2022. And then global ransomware damages. We're going to talk about ransomware. That's where someone basically holds your computer hostage until you pay them. There's just recently a huge attack where in, what city was it? I think it was somewhere here in Florida, and they ended up paying it because they had to get their computer opened up.
Wasn't it up north?
Was it up north?
I think it was up north.
I always pick on Florida because
Yeah.
No, it wasn't in Florida, it was up north,
right?
I think.
There was a 60 Minutes article segment too.
Was it? Well, up north, let me just say, little cities get hit a lot and they don't advertise it because it makes them look bad. So a lot of this money, like they predict over $5 billion, this is 2017, but it far surpassed that. A lot of people don't report it. Law firms don't report it when they get attacked by hackers because they'll typically just pay the ransomware because that will be terrible publicity for an attorney. You have that attorney-client privilege, you're holding a lot of personal information. So a lot of the statistics that we have are based on just who is reporting. There's a lot of people that don't want to talk about it. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. So just to give you an idea of victims' age group, this is from 2017. It's the same for all, it's pretty much stayed the same, but their main target are people over 60. That's the group that, the IRS robocalls, those are the fun ones now. The robocallers pick a demographic and then target those groups of people. And that's exactly what the cyber hackers do. They're like, oh, you're over 60, you're not as technologically savvy, you don't understand the firewalls, you probably just have a PC with no Norton antivirus or whatever it is. But so then they've got a lot of money. You've got baby boomers are the wealthiest population in the United States, so major target for the hackers. So when you are hacked, there's 3 ways that they can impact your real estate business. Not only can you suffer the financial harm, there's legal risk from lawsuits, and that's pretty much the only recourse anyone has right now, because there are federal laws and there are state laws about cybersecurity, but they have to catch the hacker. So if they don't catch the person, if you are somebody that's your money stolen through fraudulent wire instructions, your only recourse now is to go to court and try and sue everybody that is involved in the transaction. And then your reputational risk from having disclosed the hack, and that's why a lot of law firms, I did this class for attorneys, real estate attorneys, and all of them are like, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if they get a hack, they're going to pay off the ransomware, they're going to keep it as quiet as possible, because it's leverage for other law firms to use against them. It's also, they've lost their trust with their client base. In real estate, because for title insurance purposes, we require our agents to have cybersecurity additional insurance. But the problem with any insurance, what does it cover, right? So it's sometimes doesn't cover a lot of the things that we need it to cover. But at the end of the day, there's errors and omissions policies and things like that that can hopefully protect our agents. But we see a lot of title agents that get hit with a wire fraud and they're out of business because it's hundreds and thousands of dollars that they don't have. So it's scary stuff. So we're going to talk about these 3 types of cyber fraud because they're the big ones that affect our real estate industry. There's a bunch of other things that have different names, but these are the 3 big ones, and they kind of lead into one another. Phishing sort of is the main topic, and then when there's phishing, you get into ransomware, and then business email compromise scam. And number 3 is what is really affecting the real estate industry and realtors. So really important you pay attention to that part. The rest of it you can take a nap. Just kidding. Phishing. So I think I've got a graph here. So it is someone sends you an email, looks like it comes from someone you know, you open it up, you click the link, you download the attachment, whatever it is, and all it does is it opens up the door for that hacker to get into your system. Now they can see all the emails you're sending, they can see how you talk to your clients, they can see when the closing is, they know when the wire instructions are going to be sent, all of that information. They've now walked into your system. You don't even know they're there. And yeah, they'll know payoff amounts, and that's our big problem right now, is they know that a payoff's coming. They intercept the payoff email, alter it, and then send it to the title company. So I'm gonna let Wendy talk at the end about what they do at Title Now to protect the buyers and sellers' interests. So how do you spot a phishing expedition? So you get an email from somebody. This is actually, the hackers have gotten so much more sophisticated. It used to be they would send over an email with all this incorrect grammar. They'd have language that you knew, we don't talk that way in the US. You know, it'd be like, you know, whatever they wrote, like whatever their ending was. We'd say, okay, thanks, you know, sincerely, whatever it is, and they would have like best wishes or whatever, and everybody's like, that seems odd. But their incorrect grammar, they would spell the word dollar wrong. Dollar spelled with an A, they would spell it with an E. It was little, tiny little things like that. But now, because they're in your emails, reading your emails, they know how you talk, they know how you spell, and they mirror it. So they've gotten a lot savvier. But you can still see, sometimes if you get an email and it's that sort of weird text that doesn't look like a regular email font, like it looks like it's actually coming from a text, that's a pretty good indication that there's something funny with it. You've got different email format, absence of logo. So if you're used to dealing with Title Now, and I know Wendy's got her picture and all of her information on there, maybe it's not a picture of Wendy no longer on the email. okay, that's gonna be a good indication.
Mm.
I know I have Chase as my bank account, and they were hacked. And I got an email from them, and you know, Chase is sort of that, like, I don't know, is it a hectagon kind of thing? Well, this is more like a circle, just, I'm like, that's not the Chase logo. Branding's really important, people. So, good indication that something's off. At urgent requests for personal information, this happens all the time. You get an email that says, your bank account's going to be locked, you'll not be able to get into it, you need to log in, click this link, log in, and update your information. Well, as soon as you click that link, it's not taking you to Chase, it's taking you to the hacker, and now they have your password, and guess what? 99% of the people have the same password for every single account that they have. We're going to talk about, you know, how to kind of get around that, or avoid those sort of things. Suspicious attachments. So, one of the craziest things about working in real estate is we're customer service. So if somebody sends you an order, you're like, yes. You know, for us on the title, I'm like, yeah, we've got a real estate order, fantastic, you open it up. If you're not expecting it, don't open it. Find out, you know, do the research before you automatically open it. I have friends that work in, I think I did the REO class here, they work still in REO, and they were getting, had signed up to be a Texas realtor, and so she got an order. She's like, Karen, I got this order from, you know, this company, and I'm like, that's fantastic. And she's like, can you look at it? I'm like, oh my God, she had opened it already, it was total spam. And I'm like, Jan, it says 123 Main Street, Anywhere, USA. That's not the same. It's like, read the email, but she was so excited to get her first order. So really important to pay attention to that stuff, like who's sending it, what does it say, and then links in an email. Hopefully you all know that, never ever click a link in an email, because it doesn't ever take you to where you're supposed to go. It takes you to the hacker's homepage. So more on phishing, some FBI recommendations. We talked about it, be suspicious of any unsolicited email requesting personal information. Always comparing the link in the email to the one that you're actually directed in. So all you have to do is take your mouse and hover over that link that's in your email, and it will show you what the URL is for that. And it's not going to be www.chase.com, it's going to be something insane. You can type that actual web address into the search bar on your internet page. That won't open you up into, you know, their system, but it'll at least give you an idea, because it'll usually say like 404 error or something. And then contact the actual business that supposedly sent the email. So obviously, you get an order from a buyer or seller that you've never met before. You know, what do you do? Like, how do you find out if they're an actual person? Right? How did, you know, who referred you? How did you get my referral? You can be very nice about it. Do you find, you know, if they're like, oh, I found you on Facebook, blah, 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 contact me through Facebook, whatever it is, just to protect yourself. Because you as realtors are the #1 target for all of this. I like scaring people on these things. So clicking on a link or opening attachment can result in ransomware. So like we said, you click on that link, open an attachment, you open that door, you've got your hacker now in your system. And they can hide out and wait for years and years if they want. But what ransomware is, it's malware, it attacks your system, it locks it down, and you have to pay them to get out of it. So, oh, that's funky. So with that, yeah, they take over your computer, they can follow your path, they can follow the keystrokes on your computer, see what you typed in for any passwords. They intercept emails related to financial information, stealing, changing data for financial gain. They impersonate a trusted friend, colleague, business, or your financial institution. This is what ransomware looks like. So this is a perfect one that I get randomly. And if you read it, and this, I have a funny story about this, but it looks like, oh, it's from the FBI. You looked at something inappropriate with porn or something. You have to pay $200 and they'll release it. If you're doing something illegal, FBI is showing up at your door. They are not going to. They're not going to. Oh, hold on. First time's a charm. You're going to be good. Give us $200 and you're fine. They're at your door with a SWAT team and taking you down. This is not FBI will never, ever do this. Funny story though, I was doing this class and this guy used to work at Verizon, and he said that he used to get, like, the husband would come with the wife and the husband had this on his phone and he's just like, oh my God, you're probably looking at something his wife didn't want him to look at. And so he'd be, can you take this off my phone before my wife finds out, and all these things. So you can get these removed. There's places like Geek Squad. If you have, well, Mac doesn't really get attacked, but there's, IT departments, if you have one here, or if you, Title Now, or whatever it is, they can get these removed for you. There's companies you can call that will get them removed. 90% of the people pay it, but it doesn't get rid of the malware. Malware's scaring your system, laying in wait, and they can do it again. Yeah.
My question to you is, what do you recommend? Like, I'll tell you what I do. I have all my memory, everything, on a cloud, and I hold it on a hard drive.
Yeah.
So when I have, because I have a cheap computer, I have a $150 laptop, I have had this, I just default it back to the settings.
Yeah, that's
And then
exactly.
it basically gets rid of everything. So I don't have, like my laptop, I think you've all seen it, it's like $130. It has zero memory. Zero. I have everything on a stick.
Yeah.
So what I do is I put everything on the cloud, I keep everything on the stick, and I keep everything on a hard drive. So when I have had, because I had something similar to this, all I did was just go back and reset it to like brand new, like when I bought it.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing on the computer. So
Yeah.
that has been my solution. What do you recommend in regards
Best,
to?
you should always, especially if you want to keep the information, because I have like, family photos and tax returns and all of that. Yeah, I'm backing it up on like a USB or saving it someplace else in case something like that happens. And then if this does happen, you can take it like into a Geek Squad, and that's all they do is remove these things. Somebody had given me a 1-800 number you can call. That's a legit company that will remove it too. But you have to get it removed because the malware is still in your system.
Unless you default to the
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, because
It's work.
the hackers, they don't go to your computer only. They hack your emails, they hack everything.
Right.
So
Oh, they've
even
got all
if
your
you change
pass-
your computer, you still have the problem.
Yeah, well, they've got all your passwords.
Exactly.
That's all
But
they
the point is
want.
that if you have everything saved on a cloud, like for instance, if you have blood and phosphorus
Oh, yeah,
email,
it's better.
we have unlimited memory there.
Yeah.
So you can put all of your files there. So if
So-
you have it there, what I just do is I just default it back to factory settings. That's what it's
And here's another one that comes up. It looks like it's something from Windows. It says you're encrypted. You've got so much time left. You've got, a time clock telling you when you have to pay this off or your whole computer is going to be shut down. And it does happen. Like if that's why a lot of people just pay these. They're like, I'll just pay it and it'll be gone. And if they do remove it, but it's blackmail. Oh, you paid it once. Guess what? Maybe I'll come back again. Now I know how to get into your system. And that's what's been happening. So last January 2017, there was the biggest one that we've had to date was called WannaCry ransomware, and it happened over in Europe, and it was pretty much attacking in like Northern Europe or Northwestern Europe, and then it was coming to the U.S. and I think they were Korean hackers. Basically took down the city of London, hacked into the system. Everything is attached to IT now. So people couldn't go to the hospital because they couldn't check in, couldn't pull up your insurance. Surgeries were being canceled because everything's electronic. Subway, all of that's shut down, electricity. And so London just hated because they're like, our city is literally shut down. And then they did an investigation. Luckily, time change, they called the US like, hey, just FYI. So we were able to stop it. But that's how scary this is. So we're talking right now, they're attacking in smaller cities because they don't have the firewalls and they're not paying for the cybersecurity. But what happens if that happens in Miami? Because that's all these people do all day.
That happened in a city in Central Florida, I think a little bit north of West Palm. Someone hacked into the school system and shut down that city,
Yeah.
and the city paid them to get it
Absolutely.
taken off for sure.
Absolutely. What?
People should have cash ready in case in food and stuff when
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, we're hurricane prepared and great. But it's the same kind of idea, because truthfully, you know, I think all the bigger cities, we spend a lot of money to do this, but when you think about hackers, there are people sitting in office buildings, even in the US, and that's all they do, are running algorithms on everybody's computer, and you've got the real estate section, you've got this section, and all they're doing is trying to find a way to hack in, place one of these, and get the payoff. And they're impossible to find. So that's where we're talking about, you know, there's federal laws, it's clearly illegal, but it's really hard to catch these people, because it's a huge crime syndicate. And if they just keep finding different ways. That's why when you get those updates on your phone or on your computer, do them. Like, run those updates. Those are all security, because like Apple's like, someone's trying to breach, we're gonna do a new security feature to protect it. And that's why you get those security things, because that's the whole point, is they found someone, you know, trying to install a virus or whatever. And so now they're doing a new security thing, Windows updates all the time. But that's ransomware. So a lot of people pay them off.
New York City lost 30% this year. The different person had in the life, you know, and they think that that's.
Oh yeah, I mean, think about it. They can shut off the water supply. There's all kinds of things. And that's where, you know, it's really, really scary. And right now you've got, and you're talking people, North Korea, for example, they're huge, their whole purpose in life, I think, is to try and destroy the United States, right? So that's one of the things that you've got a lot of people in North Korea, you know, per the government probably, I'm making all that up, but you've got a lot of hackers, and that's a huge crime thing, and that's what they're trying to do, is they can take out a city for one day, and that's a lot of money they can lose. So 46% of ransomware comes from that spam or phishing emails. That's clicking the link, opening the attachment. And then 36% of lack of employee training. That happens with, that actually happened in my old company that I worked at, our HR department. The president of the company's email was hacked into. Email came from the hackers, you know, using the president email to the HR department asking for 200 W-2s from the prior year. And the HR person's like, oh, the president of the company's asking for it, sent it, didn't question it. But that was just lack of employee training, because there's no reason the president of the company needs to look at anybody's.
No, and when in doubt, just double check.
Exactly.
One of the people online, one of our agents online, Ted Finkelman, was asking, what do you think about communicating via secure encrypted applications?
Yep.
Like Telegram?
We can
Or
talk
what-
about that. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that, like different methods. Encryption, everyone just hates it because you have to remember a password if you forget it. But that's a preferred method for, especially in the title industry, for us insurance people. We like the encrypted emails because it is,
Make it secure.
it's secure. So that's just just know that phishing and spam emails are the #1 way to get ransomware. So let's talk about business email compromise, because that's the one that hits us. And this, who they target, between December 2017 and May 2018, there's a 136% increase in total losses. So as we saw in that graph way in the back, who was being affected, how it jumped from like 2015 all the way to 2018. That's basically it, and it just keeps going up. They don't just stay in this country, like I said. What happens is you get a fraudulent wire instructions. Those wire instructions may go to a Bank of America in the United States, but as soon as it hits that Bank of America, it goes to like 7 or 8 different countries. They split it up. So they have been sent globally to 115 countries. General rule is the FBI won't even investigate it unless it's over $1 million. And most real estate transactions are under $1 million. That's not the purchase price. That's what, you know, seller's proceeds or what the buyer has to bring in. So if the buyer has to bring in $99,999.99, FBI is like, you need one more penny for us to investigate. And they only have 72 hours to try and get that money back. So what we see, especially when we're looking at a lot of these cases, is Friday afternoons before a holiday weekend. And that's 72 hours is not bank days, that's 72 hours, calendar days. So Friday afternoon, 4 o'clock, wire goes out to the hacker. Now you've got Saturday, Sunday, Monday, bank's closed. By Tuesday, FBI can't do anything. So it's really, really hard to get that money back. Since 2013, losses have topped $12 billion. And that, like we said, 2021, they're looking at, you know, 630 billion, whatever it is. So here's just a little graph of how it kind of goes, because you guys, real estate agents, are the #1 target. Why? Because of the use of unsecured emails. Gmail. Hotmail, Yahoo, AOL. If it's free, there's no security. That's all you need to know. You can have viruses, malware, protection, whatever on your computer, doesn't matter. These free emails are what's causing a lot of the headache. So we're going to talk about kind of what the easiest thing for you to do. But here's an idea. Real estate agent clicks on link, which installs the malware. They start reading how you talk to your home buyer. The hacker takes over and they send the fraudulent wire request to home buyer. Right off the bat, this is, you want to just get rid of this altogether. You tell your buyers, do not ever accept wire instructions from me as a realtor, ever. That's every lawsuit, because the real estate agent's email got hacked into. They sent the wire instructions to the buyer. Buyer's like, it's my realtor. Of course I'm gonna think this is fine. Sends the money, and it's all over.
Just a reminder, guys, on londonfoster.net, under My Deals, Deposit Instructions, there is a function all the way to the left at the bottom where you can put your client's email, so that we send a company email from London Foster directly to the client. My advice, and I was just telling John this, tell them what you're going to tell them what you're telling them, tell them what you told them, and explain it to them again. Call your person and tell them, at this moment, I am emailing you via the company, the instructions, at this moment. Why? Because it is literally instantaneous. So while you're on the phone with them, tell them, did you get the email? Yeah, okay, open. Those are the instructions. Those are the only instructions. If you ever get instructions from the title company, Wendy is going to call you and discuss it with you.
Right.
Actually, it doesn't even come from me. It comes from like
From the
my
company.
office main email, and it is password protected. And
They have to call the,
they have to call the office,
to get the PIN.
and you know. So sometimes you guys call me or text me and tell me, oh my God, can you do it right now? And I know you get aggravated, but I occasionally sometimes will send it to you guys through WhatsApp or to a buyer, because I know it's like urgent, but I would really rather prefer for us to do it the correct way, which is sending it through the email.
So this is what happens. So they pretend they're you, they send the wire instructions, and then the buyer wires the money, and the money obviously goes to the hacker. And they tend to send the wire instructions like a week or two before closing. So what does that mean? No one knows the money was sent, because now we get to the closing table, the buyer says, I sent that 2 weeks ago, and it's gone. And now we've passed that 72-hour mark with the FBI. That actually was a huge case in New York, which they settled, which bummed me out because I really wanted some case law. But the attorney, so in New York you use attorneys to close. Their attorney was using AOL, and it was a co-op in New York. This couple was buying, so you're talking $3 million, right? So they, she was hacked into, wire instructions sent to the buyers, and I think it was a month before closing even. We need the extra $2 million for the earnest money. Buyers sent it. They got to the closing table, and money's gone, and the attorney's like, I never sent that email. They go to court, and they sued him basically because they're like, you used an AOL account, a free account, and you have a fiduciary interest to protect me as your client. That's why attorneys report a lot of this stuff. But it was a huge, huge case, and they settled. I don't know what they settled for. That's not public. But But yeah, $2 million, and so this attorney's probably out of business for sure. But just those are the kinds of things you have to think about. This isn't like the day of closing. This is usually weeks in advance too.
So I just want you guys to know we had a case where a buyer sent $90,000 to, not us. They got fraudulent wiring instructions, and the poor young guy could not close. $90,000. They obviously, you know, they sued us, and you know, we were able to prove that as a title company we use everything to protect our clients, and it actually came from the realtor.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
there's,
guess-
we've got a case level which we're gonna talk about that's
yeah,
really
it was
important.
bad. Or it was bad.
Yeah, so how it works, they, like we said, intercepts emails, and changes the data, and they're doing this now with payoffs. So mortgage payoffs, because they're reading the emails. They know they're like, oh, mortgage payoff's being ordered, I'm just going to send one pretending I'm the bank, and that's where they have the crazy little Chase logo or whatever it is. And they'll send it directly to the title company. Well, title companies, on our end, that's one of those things, we order them, we're talking to the right people. So if we're getting unsolicited, we know it's not gonna be a valid payoff, but they alter the payoff. You know, if we sent that money, it's not going to the bank to pay off, it's going to the hacker. So untrustworthy websites or emails, we talked about that. Emails asking for financial information. And here's sort of the tricky part about it, is because they alter the emails that
Ever so slightly.
ever so slightly. So yeah, it's john-doe@abc.com. Then they'll do john_doe at abc.com, or they do john-doe@abc.corn. How would, I mean, if you're going really fast, and yeah, and you're on your phone and you're busy, you're just like, oh yeah, that's John. So important to pay attention to the emails. They changed the a 1 into a lowercase l. That's another big hacking thing. It's just taking the time and stopping and saying, who's this coming from? We all are busy. I read my phone. I mean, doing our end of the year lease thing, and I'm like, oh yeah, I totally did not read that whole section that I was supposed to turn in like last week, because you're just like, scan everything, and that's how we live, and they know exactly. So that's one way they get into it, and that's where they're sending an email from you to your buyer, and your buyer's just like, oh, this is from the realtor. I've looked at this email address every day. Using cookie technology to steal information, they track everything that you're doing in your computer. We talked about that. Impersonating trusted friend, colleague, business. There's this great thing. I think it's great. It's pretty funny. Mouse hacking. Wireless mouse and keyboards. They can hack into your garage door opener. They can hack into your Nest. They can hack into your Ring doorbell. They can hack into all of that. But they can hack into your wireless mouse and your wireless keyboard and follow the keystrokes of what you've done. Or they're in your mouse and they're watching what you're doing. It is really scary. So if you have a wireless, I think they have to be something like 500 or 600 feet away from you. But if you're on a ground floor office and someone's sitting in their car outside the office, that's all they have to do. So just know that, yeah, start using paper and pen.
Oh, and the phone chargers too.
No.
They're selling
Yes.
phone chargers.
They are on Amazon.
What?
Oh, really? You can buy them.
They're
What is
exactly like iPhone chargers.
So
Oh my god! And it just takes everything off your all the data.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get those on Amazon. Not that I want you guys to go get the Amazon.
Oh my
Great
God.
Christmas presents for your friends, right? Because we're in the wrong business. So who are the hackers? Today's hackers are studying their marks closely. Like I said, more sophisticated. They're not having the misspelled words or the nonsensical sayings, which, when you're doing a normal transaction, you're like, oh, now they are getting to know you and how you write and how you communicate. And they're imitating your tone and style. So then once they get in, they know everyone who's involved, and that makes them even more convincing, because it's like, if you always write, hey girl, or whatever it is, that's how they're gonna do it. And they're like, oh, that's my realtor. If they're like, hello ma'am, they're gonna say, why is she all of a sudden so formal? So they're imitating you. So what happens if you do get hacked? Faster you take action, more likely you get some money back. Sometimes a bank can recall a wire. It has to be caught pretty quickly. One of the things that is sort of annoying is certain banks have certain contracts with each other on recalling wires, and if they do not have a contract with that other bank, you're not getting your money back. Yeah, the cancellation agreement between the two financial institutions. So one of the easiest things to do is, you can tell your buyers this too, is they can go to the bank or seller or whoever's getting wire instructions and call the bank and tell them, this is what's happening, this is the amount, this is, verification, blah, 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 blah. So if they get wire instructions or something funky, at least they know they have to get authorization from the buyer to release that money. Whether you get your money back or not just depends on if you report it right away, but there are some places to report. You should always report it. FBI, they have the ic3.gov, which is the website that you go to, and you can fill out a report. What it does is it will accumulate, they'll see, Miami's getting hit right now. They send out alerts to financial institutions and to title insurance and everything saying, there's a big wire fraud issue. That happened in Colorado. There was a whole ring that the FBI, like I said, under $1 million, they're not going to touch it, but they compiled the report and they were able to at least stop it. Federal Trade Commission, and then the local police force. I'll tell you right now, you can file a report with the local police force unless someone's holding a gun to your head, they can't do anything. And God bless them, but we had a case when a long time ago, we had someone embezzling money in white collar crime. They stole like $800,000 from one of my title agents, who was one of the employees. We filed, the police department's like, what do you want us to do? But I'm like, if someone had a gun and stole $5 from your purse, they'd be in prison. $800,000 walk free. So white collar crimes are getting hacked. So you might not get action right away. Like I said, law enforcement can put together some information. And really, even if it does happen to you, getting it out there and letting other people know that this is happening is, you're protecting someone in the future and making them a little smarter. So let's talk about some case studies. This one, January 2019, Orlando couple wired a $46,000 down payment to a title company they thought was legit, but later learned it was really a spoofed IP address for hackers based in South Africa. Home buyers were given information from the real estate agent who forwarded wiring instructions from what she thought was the title company. So, real estate agent actually sent the wire instructions, but the wire instructions came from the hacker, not the title company, because they used a fake, email address like we talked about earlier. Real estate agreement warrants clients not to wire any funds without personally speaking directly to offices closing the transaction. Agent never called to confirm with the title company the instructions were legitimate. Buyer's lawyer says the agent is accountable because she breached her own policy. So lawsuits are happening. This one's not decided yet. But just a note on money. So we talk about, these huge financial losses of $2 million, blah, blah, blah. Somebody's life savings could be $5,000, and that's wiped out. So, it doesn't matter the amount necessarily. It's just, $46,000 here, that was their money, for their house. This is the case that is this is our first lawsuit that we have a decision, and it's really, really important for you guys to know this. So, I believe this was in Kansas. Yes. Buyers were a real estate agent. They were instructed to pay $196,000. Nobody knew this, but there was a hacker intercepting the emails between everybody. They were sent hacked wiring instructions. The instructions came from the real estate agent's email. Money was sent, and the buyer sued everybody. The agent, the broker, the title company, the lender, blah, blah, blah. Kansas federal courts. So the title company and lender got out of it because they weren't the ones that were hacked. But Kansas Federal Court made the real estate agent pay 85% of the buyer's loss because A, they were hacked into, and the email came from them, and also, which I don't have up here, on their website, the real estate agent said all the ways they protect their clients from all this wire fraud. So it was like false advertising on top of it. So it was a jury decision. So this is our first case where the realtor was technically to blame. So really important that you are communicating with your buyers throughout the process that, you know, if they're receiving a wire instructions, you know, however the process, like Memo said, if you have to call them right away, if Wendy's, you know, has a passcode, whatever, they need to understand that, because with these lawsuits now, this sets precedence for all the other lawsuits that happen. And that what happens is when you've got attorneys going in to argue, now they're going to pull up this case, they're representing the buyer, the judge is going to be like, oh, you know what, that's not a bad idea, you're right, the realtor's at fault. So really important that realtors pay $167,000 to the buyer. So really important case. You can read it. I put the court case on down at the bottom if you want to read it.
Does the E&O insurance or any type of insurance help the?
I don't know. I just read the case law, so that the case just went through and said broker has to pay this. I'm sure they may have filed with their E&O or whatever it was, but you know, now reputationally, that doesn't look good for them either. So those are some things to think about. So it's not just the financial loss, it's also reputation, yeah. So just things to think about. But yeah, check it out, read the case, it's really interesting.
But does the E&O cover fraud?
It depends what your E&O covers. So for us, we have to get a separate cyber fraud rider to our policy. And even that doesn't cover like someone clicking a link. It covers certain things, but it's not going to cover everything. So that's sort of the tricky part, because in cyber fraud insurance, there's different levels, and if you want to spend $100,000 or whatever it is a year to get the good stuff, that's one thing. But you know, a lot of people, we don't require. I think on Fidelity's end, we require, I think, up to like $150,000 or something like that you have to have. But it just depends on. That's for the title company, so I don't know what the realtors are required to have.
Memo, do you know what London Foster's E&O insurance, does that cover it?
London Foster's E&O insurance covers what?
Wire
Email
fraud?
hack.
Yes, I think so. You can actually look up the E&O insurance certificate. You can request it. It's under LondonFoster.net, under Office Manager. You scroll down and you can request your E&O insurance.
Just FYI, though, only because you have E&O insurance does not mean that it's going to cover you. You still have to prove that you did everything
Right.
that you're supposed to be doing as a realtor to protect your client.
Right.
If not, they're going to deny the claim. Because
You can't mess up and then get covered by your insurance.
Yeah.
You have to be in good practices and
Right.
due diligence and everything else.
Right.
But guys, honestly, the safest way to prevent that is pick up the phone. We
Yeah.
just get lazy. We get lazy, and so like, if you're gonna, it's almost like, I'm going to send you an email. Let me know when you got it. I'm literally saying, that's the only way to protect yourself. And always tell your clients, be doubtful, be skeptical. If it's coming from me, I'm gonna call you. You know, that I think, humbly, I think that's the best. Yeah,
Right.
cover your ass. For
Yeah.
sure.
And don't send it from your email address.
Well, you shouldn't be sending the instructions to begin with. You know, we provide them for you because you're going to need them if you're doing a deposit into the escrow account, right? If I'm going with my client and I go, come on, let's go to Wells Fargo, let's go make a deposit, and I don't remember it, I need to be able to access it. But if I was going to send it to my client, it makes the most sense to go down to the thing where it says the email and then tell him, I'm sending it from the company. Never take instructions from me on escrow ever again. Only this one that comes to the company, and get on the phone with him. It takes 2 seconds and you protect yourself.
Right. So just red flags are email with new wire instructions. So that comes up a lot. Buyer, you know, gets wire instructions, they send it out, or then, you know, if they don't send it, they're like, oh, I'm going to use that wire instructions, then they get a new one. Oh, no, use this account. That's a really big red flag that obviously. Title companies do not change their banks. They're like not going to go, oh, we have a new bank today. No, it's the same bank all the time. Message from someone that you've never spoken with or met, different email address than use what was what was used previously. So that's a big one. If they're always using the personal, all of a sudden they're like, oh no, that's my work one, or vice versa. You know, really important in the beginning to get all of their contact information. And you know, what's your primary phone, whatever it is. And make sure you know all of that. Yeah, like I said, with Wendy, she's got her picture and warnings. If she didn't send it, you got an email from her and none of that's on there, it didn't come from her. Asking for any non-public personal information, we talked about that, so someone, you know, urgent, hurry up, you know, you need to give us your social security number. Please, for the love of God, don't ever give anyone your social security number, although I'm just going to tattoo mine on my head because I've been reached by everybody. Ask you to click a link or go to a form, mysterious attachments, name on recipient account is different, no email encryption. So, National Association of Realtors has some tips to prevent loss. You know, they want a standard warning about wire scams and avoid sending sensitive information over email. I don't know if London Foster provides anything like that to your buyers or sellers, just a sheet, it's on your email address, whatever, like, hey, don't accept wire instructions from me, whatever it is. Think about adding that stuff, or at least communicating it to them. Yeah, communicating your practices are, so memo says, you know, you'll get the escrow wire from us in this way, and we're going to call you. Know those practices and follow them. Calling people on the phone immediately, and no one likes to talk on the phone. For personal and for work, using strong passwords and changing them regularly. They suggest that you use phrases with, you know, some what's it called, symbols and some numbers. So switch it up, and switching like capital letters, lowercase letters are. Do not use your dog. Do not use your birth date. Change them up, and change them, like we say at least every 90 days. Change your password, and make sure you're changing it so it's something you remember, but also it's going to be hard for someone to break into. So any personal information you have, your maiden name, a street you lived on, stuff like that is easy for people to find. They Google search and you can pull all that stuff up in white pages. And then IT people, can't stress it enough. If you have an IT staff person with London Foster, great. Hopefully they can help you. If not, think about becoming friends with someone at Geek Squad. They're at Best Buy. They can help you out. Additional, always verbally, that's picking up the phone, verify instructions, educating your clients not to share personal information. And even with your buyers and sellers, they, on the title end, we are never going to ask for personal information via email. We're never going to ask for social security numbers, anything like that. Loan officers aren't going to ask for that. So unless it's a secured email or portal. Not reacting immediately to email, so that is like, oh, I've got, I see this link and it's urgent, I better click it. Take a break and actually look at who's sending it. Monitoring the progress of the wire transfer to completion, and then being vigilant. VPNs, so virtual protection networks, I use this one called Ghost, CyberGhost, and it's just whatever, $18 a year. And so if I am using the free Wi-Fi, it now has to go through my VPN in order for me to use it. So it's an additional protection so someone can't protect or get into my system. There's a bunch of different ones out there, but if I travel a lot, so you're never ever just go on anyone's free Wi-Fi, because we talked about the phone charger. Someone sitting next to you can hack into your phone on the free Wi-Fi. Using complex passwords. Locking your phone, locking your computer when you're not using it. So if you're, done with your phone, you click the little side thing. If you click it back on, you should be putting a passcode into it. Everyone's information, their whole world is on their phone. You lose your phone, someone has access to everything in your world. We talk about free Wi-Fi. When you do get requests for personal private information, the URL should have HTTPS. The S stands for security. If it doesn't, red flag that whatever you're putting out there is open to everyone in the world.
So
Hold on, what's that again? It needs to have the HTTPS?
Yes. So typical URLs, HTTP:// whatever, www. There's no security on it. So when you,
Got
like, if I go onto like my Bank of America account, it's always HTTPS because that's my financial information. So anytime you.
So S actually means that there's a password that you went through.
Yeah, S is security. So it
Got
means
it.
it's a secured website.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Sometimes they have the little lock somewhere on the wherever, but the S, you're looking for the S because that's how the URL is set up.
Also, Bluetooth, you have your Bluetooth on, it's easy for people to hack.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're just inviting people because it's easy to hack into anybody apparently, according to Amazon. Doing your system updates, like I said, do them. I know they're a pain and they completely screwed up my email on iPhone, but you can do them. Shutting your computer off at night. And if it feels suspicious, it probably is. If it looks wrong, it probably is. But your most important defense is communication. It's informing your buyers and sellers this is a problem. It's picking up the phone and talking to them. Easiest way to combat it. So some tools. You have secure email systems. You can pay for secure email systems. Is London Foster secure?
What?
Does London Foster have an email system that's secure?
We do everything through Gmail.
Okay, yeah, so you might want to look into like using a VPN then, or, you know, just communicating with your buyers and sellers. Using a password manager, you can have those which will have all your passwords on it so you don't have to constantly be remembering things, and that'll be stored in your computer under a protected thing, hopefully. Protecting your mobile device, like I said, having that, you have a password or PIN to log back into your phone once it's, you know, the screen goes black, and then system updates as well. Here are your resources. So we talked about the ic3.gov. You can actually go on there and see all the complaints that have been filed. You've got Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, American Land Title Association, which is the title agents lobby organization. We do a lot with, you know, trying to protect people. There's a lot of information on there if you ever want to pull something off to give a buyer or seller. Florida Realtors has a lot of information, and so does National Association of Realtors. So that's it. Does anyone have any questions? Yes.
And those apps that save your password, or those are safe?
It depends. So if you've got like on Mac, it's like I think it's called Key or something, Home Key or something like it. Typically those are okay. You don't want to just, with anything, you don't want to just download an app without doing some research. So when you find something that's like, that looks good, and for the most part, if you're on the iPhone, it'll give you the best apps and they'll show reviews. Just Google it, or ask someone, like ask someone at the Mac store or Apple store, or, you know, Geek Squad or whatever phone you're using, or Verizon, and say, is this a valid app? I would do that before I download anything. Yeah, always do your research before you start downloading stuff.
What about like Facebook? Sometimes you could do a sign on to different apps using Facebook. How safe is that?
Well, Facebook gets hacked into too. I mean, you know, my Twitter account, I had to shut it down because someone kept hacking into it and sending out all this crazy stuff, and I was like, oh my, I'm just done with Twitter. But you know, it doesn't. Anything can get hacked into. The real trick with like Facebook and any of those things is to change your password. Like I said, every 90 days. Because that's where you're going to kind of protect yourself from hacking. So anything else? No? Are you guys scared? All right. Did my job.
We're not going to use the phone today.
Yeah, no, you're done. All right, well, awesome. Well, thank you guys, and
Thank you.
we gotta set up our 2020.
I know. I was just telling Memo that we need to, I said, you know, Karen gets booked, so we need to start working on 2020.
I've got a new class, iBuyers, the internet buyers versus traditional real estate buyers.
Ooh.
So that's a good one, like Zillow and Redfin and Open Door versus what you guys do.
Do you have any availability stuff for this
January?
For January? Maybe that could be our January.
All right.
Yeah.
Mañana.
Thank you so much, Karen.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and one more thing, we have January 1st, the remote online notarization is being rolled out, speaking of cyber fraud. So it's happening in 35 other states in the country. And what it is the notary is in one state, signers in another state, and they basically Skype and notarize documents over the internet. We at Fidelity have done a lot of vetting and research and kind of picked the best ones, because what happens, your notaries in Texas, you're in Florida, you're not meeting, you're literally looking at each other over a screen signing documents, and they're notarizing it. A lot of people I'm like, will that get hacked into? I don't know. It's real estate. We don't know. But there's a lot of security involved with it. So just know that that's coming out. You go on notarize.com and they have videos about it, just if you want to learn more about it. We don't know what it's going to look like. We just know January 1st it becomes law. I don't think the state of Florida knows what it's going to look like, so it's going to be coming. So, you know, the nice part is, because you have a lot of foreign sellers and buyers, they don't have to be running to the consulate.
I have a question though, but
Yeah.
at the end, isn't it up to the lender if they're gonna require more
Absolutely
signatures
up to
or
the
not?
lender.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I kind of figured. I think it's a start in
Yeah.
that direction, but at the end of the day, the lender really has the last
I
call.
think a lot, because it's been happening in a lot of other states, I think the big banks are okay with it, provided they are one of the vendors they approve, and I think that's where Fidelity's getting our list too from. I'm just speaking out of turn, we actually have ServiceLink and Black Knight that will have a own notary thing, and that's gonna be up to you as the agent to pick which one you wanna use. Yeah, I think so. Maybe, I don't know, the smaller banks, small mortgage companies might be like, I don't want anything to do with it. It's a wait and see thing, but just know it's coming. It could be a nice game changer for us in the industry.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yes, big time. It'll be great.
Do you suggest getting ad blockers for your phone?
Getting what?
An ad blocker, I mean,
What the guy, you mean? What is that?
An ad blocker for your phone, so you don't get the pop-ups?
you can, I mean, just don't click on them is the key. Because once you click on one of them,
Yeah.
that's when the whole world starts falling apart.
I mean, sometimes you'll click by, on your
Yeah.
phone, or accidentally you'll